Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cinema A to B, a podcast where Ben and I just talk about movies like you're not even here. So welcome to kind of a voyeuristic little podcast thing that we got going. Today, we are going to be talking about the 2023 movie John Wick Chapter 4, the fourth installment in the Keanu Reeves vehicle, John Wick, hence why it's called John Wick Chapter 4. So I know I'm really helping people out with that. But so... Ben, we both just saw this recently.
Yeah.
What's your takeaways?
It's too long.
By a large, not even your normal like 10 minutes, like by a large margin, way too long.
Yeah, I don't want this to be a scenario where I just bang on it the whole time. But the reality is that John Wick 4 should have been 3. 3 should have been non-existent, and 4 should have been 2 hours and 15 minutes in runtime instead of, I believe it's 2 hours and 49 minutes, and it felt every bit of 2:49.
It did. Oh my goodness.
And it's taking nothing away from the filmmakers. These action sequences are incredible. This is the fourth movie they've gave us this entire revolutionary style of shooting action, but it's kind of an example of too much of a good thing for me. It just some scenes just went on forever, and I didn't need that. I've gotten 3 films of that done at a high level, but did I still enjoy it? Yeah, more or less, but I think I waited too long to watch it because the hype for this was really, really substantial. And I didn't get around to seeing it in a theater. Yeah. And so by the time I've screened it here, I think the hype was high. My expectations were probably too high. And then I don't know why I just wasn't in position to really enjoy 2 hours and 50 minutes. And this is 11 minutes shorter than Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And you'd think because it's an action that it would like hold my attention more, but that it can't be further from the truth. I was kind of like, come on, get me to the next story beat. Yeah.
So I completely and utterly agree. I think that they could have kind of put 3 and 4 together into one movie. And I felt like that would have been a much more interesting movie. I could solve most of the problems right here. Just get rid of those stupid bulletproof suits, and man, people go down fast. Those fight scenes will just like boom, like that. So, there's really some really good fight scenes in it, and there's a lot of really crappy fight scenes in this that just went on way too long, were way too formulaic, way too just kind of felt rehearsed or slow. I love Keanu Reeves. I loved him in the original John Wick. I thought it was a fantastic film. Like, I really enjoyed what he did. But I'm going to tell you, 2, 3, and 4, it feels like we have kind of, even though it bears his name, we don't actually care about John Wick. We just care about furthering the world and the world building. Like, John Wick's character really hasn't had an arc or changed drastically at all. He had all of this emotional beats and emotional change in the first one. And then he's basically been the same person ever since. And we've just kind of fleshed out these side characters who really don't do much. And so it doesn't drive me stuff. I went into this movie with very low expectations because I have not really enjoyed, like I said, 2 or 3. I love 1, think 1 is great. And that's why I'm going to see this again. So I went with low expectations, also going, this is going to be really long and tedious. And it was in a lot of ways. And some of it is, again, some of these fight scenes just went on too long. Some of it was, my suspension of disbelief had to be pushed even further. I mean, when the guy gets hit by like 15 cars in the roundabout thing, I'm like, at some point, like he's, and I got really tired of him, holding the coat up to his face, and like that was his move. And it was basically like shoot him in the chest, get him down, and then kind of like wrestle him around, punch him in the face, and then stab him, or do the flip with the legs. Like that was his move for like half the movie. Like he did that same thing over and over again. And that's tiresome in fight scenes where it's like, I know what his next steps are.
I hate to even be complaining about it because what they gave us in the first film was so earth-shattering and so good and so tightly knit together, and the world was so fully realized. And I'm going to disagree with you because I actually really enjoy part 2. Cool. I really do, and I'm kind of in the minority on it. It actually might be my favorite entry. Wow. Okay. Just from the action sequence standpoint, because it's got a wonderful nod to Enter the Dragon at the end with all the mirrors, kind of the Hall of Mirrors. So that really kind of struck a chord with me. But, you know, the whole style that they've developed really is this reactionary element to the quick cutty action of the 2000s and 2010s, kind of popularized by the Bourne films, where you can't even tell what's really going on. There's fight choreography, but it's really lost in the edit. So I always loved Wick in the fact that the camera's further back and it's really a return to a lot of the stuff that you got in like the 90s, the 80s and 90s, a lot of stuff that came out of like Hong Kong. Like it's very much a nod to like John Woo. They just don't do Wick doesn't tend to have a ton of stuff in slow-mo the way a John Woo film does. So I always appreciate that. And you get more of that in chapter 4. And there's some sequences that are fantastic. I did appreciate the whole sequence with the incendiary rounds. Yep.
The top-down view. Yeah, that was...
Now, I'm not in love with the top-down view.
Oh, okay.
I've actually not been a huge fan of that in movies. That feels very video game to me. And you lose depth in the image when you shoot from above a whole bunch like that. Things get film's a 2D format, but with lighting and depth and blocking, it becomes very 3D. And so when you shoot top down, to me, that depth just gets lost. So I was like, oh, can we change up how we're shooting this? Cause I loved him grabbing that rifle that had those explosive rounds in it. I thought that was crazy cool. You're right on the money with his arc just not really being much of anything. I mean, the first one worked so well because it was a revenge film, but by film 4, that's gone. That's gone. So I don't know. I almost kind of am beating myself up for not liking it, but the reality is I don't really particularly care for this entry. I liked the final act. And I liked, was it Clancy Brown playing the high table representative? Yeah. So there's some nice things going on there. And I've always liked Ian McShane. And then Laurence Fishburne has been a welcome addition. I like seeing him teamed up with Keanu again for did they bring him on in John Wick 2?
3, I thought.
3?
Yeah.
So
I really
they don't give those guys much to do.
No, some of the best moments was the whole dialogue thing between Ian McShane and Laurence Fishburne when the two of them are talking or whatever. Yeah. Like that was some of my favorite parts of the film, and there's no action whatsoever. I mean, like pretty much anytime Ian McShane was on, those are most likely my favorite. I was not a fan of the Marquis at all. Like the actor, like he just, I mean. It's Bill Skarsgard. Yeah. So not a problem with the actor. Just
no, he's a good actor. Actually,
yeah. And this could have been what they were going for. It just felt like a very wimpy, you know.
Yeah, he is.
He just happens to be high up there in a world of assassins or whatever, but has really no power whatsoever and is very unsure of himself. And if that's what they're going for, great. But coming from some of the others where we have a little bit far more dangerous kind of villains, this one felt like we took a step back, kind of a thing.
Really sad that Lance Reddick has passed.
Yes,
as Sharon, and then Donnie Yen as Kane kind of steals the show.
Yeah.
He's kind of the only other character that seems so fully realized. And he's such an icon in Hong Kong action films that frankly, it's kind of surprising that it took 4 films for him to show up, but they did give him his due. That whole dynamic with him was kind of intriguing. I guess I wish I had more of that fleshed out. This moral dilemma that kind of exists within the movie of who needs to die to save someone else. It was never really explored enough on screen. Like it was mentioned and I understood what was going on, but it was really glossed over. They just didn't really explore that further. I think they just felt like they needed to give the fan base more.
Had they cut, 20, 30 minutes of fight action sequence because they took away the bulletproof suits and people died faster, then you could have given that 20, 30 minutes to some of this, even more like if you want to do world building, do world building. But a lot of this was just snippets of world building with lots of action, that, again, as we talked about, went on way too long. But, and if you don't want to deal with John Wick, but build these characters up. Like you're talking about, find these more moments. Let's dig in a little bit deeper on how they're dealing with this moral dilemma and how they're dealing kind of with themselves. Like the assassin for hire guy, like delve a little bit deeper more into, maybe his role of like why he is the way he is, or why he's thinking the way he's thinking.
I mean, the only guy that had much of an arc, to be honest, was the tracker.
Yeah, the assassin for hire guy. Yeah, that's what I meant.
It wasn't even like a great arc. And then at the end, and I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I don't care. This one, the fact that like he had this agreement with the Marquis, and the Marquis was basically, he's like, if you don't get this done, I'm going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And then he just shows up at the end and just plops down and watches it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, Marquis, aren't you going to have one of your goons just off this guy?
Yeah.
Because you failed to do what you wanted him to do, which was to not have him make it to the duel.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. There were that just, and I usually don't pick apart movies for like plot holes, but that feels like a pretty big one.
And also the fact that he just grabs a beer out of his backpack,
it's a big backpack. Let's be honest.
It's in a bottle, if it was a can, maybe, but survive all of that. Oh,
the dog was cool.
Yeah, the dog was cool. A nice little, not callback, but like a nice little reference to John Wick 1. This did not need to be 3 hours.
The other thing is all the Marquis fighters in those gray, it was kind of ridiculous. Those guys are all in those gray suits with like black army boots on. It was a very odd look. But I swear I couldn't tell that one was like his main bodyguard because there were like 4 other guys that I swear looked just like him that Keanu kept killing. And I was like, wait, why is this guy back? I thought he killed him. It is because they all looked like, a lot of them looked the same. It looked like the same guy. I don't know if that was intentional, that they just,
There's an aesthetic that the Marquis wants in his bodyguards. That you have to be this tall. You have to have this kind of 5 o'clock
those guys
shadow.
are like the largest guys of any John Wick film to date.
Yeah.
Is the whole entourage. But on a positive note, just like John Wick Part 1, 2, and 3, this is a beautiful movie.
Oh yeah.
What they're doing with light and these modern movie cameras, these modern digital cameras, and the color correction is super high-end stuff. And nothing else looks like a John Wick movie looks. And it's copied in music videos and some other stuff, but it's such a cool aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Like it really is. And so that kind of kept me invested because they kept hitting me with setup after setup of just wonderful. Some of it was electronic lighting, and so you'd have mixed light with LED and reds and blues, and they do the whole contrasting color with the teal and orange, which has been the most popular like movie look for decades. But then they also will hit you with some awesome stuff that's basically just lit with candlelight.
Yeah.
And so there's never been a complaint from me on how these movies look. These are fantastic. I wish stuff like this would get nominated for an Academy Award for best cinematography.
But not just lighting, some of the decor and the scenery and where they shoot. I mean, the whole club sequence with all the water was absolutely gorgeous and just really drew my eye. Like I was more interested in watching the stuff, behind what was the fight scene that was going on.
But I hated that I knew that one guy was in a fat suit the whole time.
Oh yeah. That was
like I was just like, really, why? Like, I understand this guy is like probably a professional fighter, and so they needed a guy that could move, but it just looked ridiculous. It was like, no, just cast that guy. He doesn't need to be heavy.
No.
Don't put him under that heavy makeup and let him fight. Because that sequence, that was a good, other than that, it was a good fight sequence. But,
because he definitely didn't move like a large person.
It was so, even sitting at the table, even the makeup wasn't good. I could see the line in his face where his face stopped and the latex started. Like, it wasn't good.
No,
it wasn't good. No, the budget did not go to that guy's prosthetics.
And I will say the choreography of the fights is fantastic. Like, and the fact that Keanu's doing still most of his stunts, is commendable. In some cases, I want to say you need to stop. You need to let someone else. There was a couple of moments where he fell down or something happened to him, and it was like, I felt like it was happening in slow motion. It was kind of, because he's like, I got to protect myself. I can't just, fall. And so, like, I felt bad for him, and I was like, I'm glad you're doing this, but also this, like, I'm immediately pulled out because I'm going, oh yeah, you are old. We can't, you can't make that fall like you did in The Matrix or even John Wick 1. So, but other than that, the choreography of this, the whole gun fu thing, they nail it. They do a great job with it, even if it does go on way too long. So,
it's going to blow your mind, but like on IMDb, Chapter 4 is rated higher than 1.
Yeah, which is
doesn't make sense to me.
I think a lot of it is it's a different age that we live in, because I also know it's got a super high, like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. And doing a little digging, a lot of people are just saying those are, critics, who are giving it good reviews, so they get like movies in the future as well to review, because like, oh, well, this person's giving a good review, let's give them something else to review. Maybe he'll give us a good review, kind of a situation. So kind of like, hey, if I give it 5 stars, then I'm going to go back and hopefully get more 5 stars. But it's hard to trust those critics and their reviews and their stuff. I don't really care too much about it. And then again, the people who are probably rating John Wick 4 right now are the people who love it and who just went to see it, and who think the John Wick movies are the best thing ever.
I have a hard time. This sits at a 7.8. I mean, there's movies like Ronin that are rated lower than this, and I'm like, we're not speaking the same language.
What's an 8.0? There's some really great movies that are in the low 8s that are.
Yeah, and IMDb's had issues with bot traffic affecting things, and then just Reddit groups that will flood it with either overly all 10s or all 1s. So it's not. It used to be a pretty accurate gauge,
but not anymore.
And not anymore. No, it's a good it's a great resource. It's like still the best resource for synopsis and
who's working what and stuff. Usually
equipment. Like, it's the best source for trying to figure out what cameras that they shot these movies on.
And there's something to be said about the whole series. I mean, I just read an article was talking about the John Wick series has just crossed over $1 billion in gross sales at the box office, which, I mean, that's over 4 films. But I mean, when the first film only did like $90 million in the box office, I mean, this one's almost done $500,000 or $500 billion dollars here.
Which is fantastic.
That's great. Yeah,
it is. It's an R-rated movie. That kind of take. No, it's cool that these franchises now can be created and built around these actors. It's like Keanu Reeves doesn't need to be Bond. He's got Wick.
No. Well, it's like,
Matt Damon didn't need Bond. He's Bourne.
Tom
Cruise doesn't need to be Bond. He's Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible series. So it's kind of a cool era we live in where we have all these franchises of varying levels of success, and is it good? But those that I just rattled off are all very successful.
Yeah.
And they all seem to offer something different that neither the other three do. Now, Bond is kind of purely its own thing, I think, given its backlog and track record, but
the ability, because it's able to transcend actors, where I don't think,
yeah, these other ones won't, right? No. Well, Mission Impossible probably will.
Yeah, just because it is now built into something.
But the other thing is, Cruise has basically said he wants to do it till he's like 70. So he wants to basically be Harrison Ford and do MI films when he's like 80 years old. But
he wants to die on set. That's what it is. He wants to go on a blaze of glory, just doing some stunt and being like, didn't make it.
Yeah.
So here's the other question, though, kind of, is that we get, what is it? Denzel Washington's movie,
Equalizer.
The Equalizer 3 comes out this year as well. And while obviously very different films, it's also similar in a lot of ways. And so I'm curious to see what like that film will bring to the table. So, because I also really liked Equalizer 1. 2 was okay, but I'm seeing like, will they
I've not
get
seen
some of the
any
magic?
of those.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I love Denzel, so it's probably shame on me for not watching him. But
I would say you definitely watch one, see what you think. So there, it's different but the same in a lot of ways. It kind of feels a little bit like a mix of Taken and like not Bourne, but Taken and John Wick kind of a situation.
Right. No, I did watch the Equalizer TV show.
Yeah.
I did watch that.
That I didn't watch.
Yeah, and it was good. It was very good.
So this is gonna
and it's what's the movie where? Oh yeah, it's Wolf of Wall Street, where Leo's dad, played by Rob Reiner's, watching the Equalizer. gets pissed
so
off
mad when
because
people
calls.
call.
Yeah, we've gone off on a heck of a tangent here. Coming back around, it's just that we've got a lot of these franchises now built around action, and I guess we have in the past too, because you had Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, but Lethal Weapon had much more of a story. Like it wasn't
the first one for sure.
Well, yeah, the first one. I mean, but even all of them had much more story or dialogue. Like here, I feel like it's like, it's 3 hours long, but there's like 15 minutes of dialogue. The rest of it's just people getting shot in the suits,
giving people what they want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people, sure. Again, if you like this, great. Like I just walked away going, this is not what I want anymore. I had my 80s film. I had my, my Predator, my Commando, my not Terminator kind of, but I had these films that this is kind of met that and I've moved on.
I'm going to draw a comparison here. The evolution from John Wick 1 to Chapter 4 reminds me of the evolution of the Fast and the Furious movies from one,
goodness, yes.
which is a very grounded street racer movie,
and then
super grounded, and completely rips off the plot of Point Break, but it's fine. It's fine.
Hey,
but then it evolves into something just absurd now, and it took like 4 or 5 movies to do it, but it got there, and it feels like Wick has kind of done that to a certain extent. Well,
it's all about family, It's
all about his dog, or at least it was.
It was again, but it's not about it anymore. So if you like John Wick, see it.
The hate mail's gonna come pouring in.
Which is fine. Like this is not reviews.
We don't get hate mail.
Yeah, we don't get hate mail. And also like it's not for us. We obviously it's $500 million worth it to people around the globe.
I did not regret watching it. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of it. Yeah. And it was super predictable. Super predictable movie.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was absolutely very predictable. So yeah. So anyways, that's really all I got on John Wick 4. Like otherwise it's just going to go down a rabbit hole of more kind of, fun thing. Well, obviously The Wire with Lance Reddick, that's the Wire connection. Got to make those connections to The Wire because it's a fantastic show, and one day you're going to watch it and we're going to talk about it. But also, I really, really love Hiroyuki Sanada, who played the manager of the Osaka Continental, and it was just fun to see him pop up.
And we had mentioned him from Bullet Train.
Yep, exactly. Like, I really like him as an actor, and so it's fun just to see him.
Yeah, the first thing I think I remember seeing him when was Last Samurai.
Yes,
I believe.
Same.
Yeah,
he was in The Ring 2, I think, or The Ring. But I'm not a big horror film, so I didn't see that. But I know my first introduction was kind of The Last Samurai.
Yeah, he's good. So good actor.
Yeah, he is. So
yeah.
But yeah. Well, I think that wraps us up. So thanks everybody for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll get notified when we post these new videos. If you just hit subscribe, YouTube will not tell you a thing. They'll just be like, great, you're subscribed, and never talk to you about us ever again. If that's your thing, great. If you want to get notified, hit the bell. If you're listening to us on wherever you get your podcast, go ahead, leave us a rating, give us a review, subscribe, join. We got a backlog of these things. We come out with these every Monday. They drop both on YouTube and on the podcasts. And yeah, just thanks. If you have any questions or if you have any comments or want to tell us how wrong we are about John Wick, feel free to add those in the comments below in the video. All right. Ben, you got anything? That's all we got.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. All right. Thanks, everybody.